Kuhn is the fullback with the first and goal. Kuhn gets the call. Pyle trying to make his way in for the touchdown. What a great second effort.
Y'all don't really want it like that. Here comes the here comes the here comes the y'all don't really want it like that. I said so. I keep big bills up in my heart on the dirty like blood. So ain't got no twist in my head, but I'm still dreadful.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to the Fantasy Fullback Dive, brought to you by the good people at the Roto Street Journal. We are your lead blocker on the way to fantasy excellence. We're paving your way to fantasy glory, and we're coming at you tonight with a little something different on a little different day, I guess about the same time. We're here for our Q1 Fantasy Awards shows, which I'm actually super excited about. I am your host, Nat the Truth Jones. With me, as always, the Wolf of Roto Street himself. Wolf, how you doing? How prepared are you for this? How excited are you for the game? In any of those orders, you want to hit those questions in?
Oh, I'm pumped for first the recording. Absolutely. It's always a great one to just put a bow on what we've seen so far, what's real, what's not, who to buy low, sell high. Like we like to obviously give out the hardware. It's exciting, but we do try to keep it also forward focused in terms of who are we believing that was a huge draft day value? Who are we not believing that we'd be selling? Who's been busting that we're going to buy low on? Waiver wire guy of the future league winners. So yes, like we'll tell you, maybe Derrick Henry, spoiler, is an MVP. That's also great and lovely, but we are going to give you guys some very actionable stuff here in replacement of our usual Risers Fallers show that I do at this time each week. I love this one. It's one of my favorite ones. And then, of course, I'm pumped for the Sox tonight. Like, I'm not really that big into baseball, but every time October hits, I'll get right onto the bandwagon like the loser, fair weather fan that I am. It's exciting, though. October baseball is a great time. October is just the best month of sports in general, so it's good stuff indeed.
It is. And I'm super looking forward. I do want to talk to you just really briefly about my fantasy team's performance yesterday. I'm crippled by injuries. CMC out, Chris Carson out, Calvin Ridley, personal reasons. And I still just brought it to the number one team in the league. Thanks to Cordero Patterson, thanks to Antonio Brown. Really enjoyed what those guys brought to the table. Oh, thanks to Mike Williams. Excuse me.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to talk about Mike Williams a little bit today as well. So do you want to get right in?
Personal MVPs that are going to probably be a lot of other people's MVPs. But as you guys are coming in here, thumbs up helps us get out to more people. You see that nice bandage thumb over there? What was that? You said that was like a hedge trimmer or something. What did you do to yourself?
Electric hedge trimmer.
Nice.
Cut down a branch that I probably should have used a chainsaw for, and used the hedge trimmer just because I was lazy and I didn't feel like going and changing the battery. And then when it cut off the branch, I went to grab the branch, and I guess the hedge trimmer was like not quite off yet. And
it's probably better that you didn't use a freaking chainsaw. Your whole
but if I'd used the chainsaw, it wouldn't have happened. Like, I mean, if I'd used the chainsaw and reached in, I would have lost my hand, but that wouldn't have happened. Anyway, I'm okay. I'm playing injured. You got to do more than this to keep me out of the Monday night podcast.
Absolutely. And just as we'll go through the awards. Comment on in, though. Do you agree with our picks, our nominations? Is there someone we're overlooking? Who's your personal MVP, your personal bust of the year? We'd love to hear from you guys. We're going to play those all at the end of the show. And, of course, if you have questions for Monday night related to tonight, anything of that nature as well, we will make sure to hit those. So get them on in. We'll cover everything and then get to those. I imagine this will take about 30 minutes or so to get through the awards, hand out the prestigious hardware that everybody's lusting over there in the NFL. And then we can get to everything that you guys have as well.
Also, any of the players that, not just the winners, nominees as well. If you'd like a spot on the show next week to discuss, you're welcome. Just contact us.
Exactly. You guys get your agents in contact with our agents. So
our numbers.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
All right, let's get right into the big one, Fantasy MVP. We're not like the Oscars. We don't make you wait till the end of the show for this. We like to lead off with the good stuff. Here we go. Q1 Fantasy MVP nominees: Derrick Henry, Austin Eckler, Cooper Kupp, Tom Brady, Mike Williams. If I'm going on this list right away, not that he's not having a phenomenal season. It's just quarterback. You can get a good quarterback, off waivers practically. And I think his production above replacement, and quarterback being that position, you can't really put him on this list. Kupp, interesting. Mike Williams, interesting. Eckler's doing kind of what we just thought he would do. Like, that guy is still undervalued, even though he's points per touch are like behind only McCaffrey for like the last 2 or 3 years. If I'm going for it, I'm saying Henry, though. I would have to give it to a running back. It's a scarcer position as far as just having, tons and tons of guys producing a lot, and he's the best. What do you think?
Yeah, I think you gave a good case around all these guys. And similar, Brady's the only reason I put him on here, as you mentioned, like quarterbacks are typically so, there's so much depth. You can find guys on the waiver wire. He also did go around like 9-10 and is the quarterback 1 right now. And he's 44. And it's just freaking insane what this guy is doing.
Yeah, I give him tons of respect.
Multiple 5 TD days. Like he single-handedly can win you weeks. And that's just nuts. At the quarterback position, that a guy that's not a Konami code, there's a statue is doing that. So I had to put him on there, but I actually also chose Derrick Henry. Now, we're going to have an article come out this week where the RSJ staff also weighs in and, we get everybody's opinion beyond just mine and the truth. So there might be other nominations, other players in there. So check that out.
You're getting the 2 most important ones now, though.
Yes, of course.
And there's a question. I acknowledge this. If you're talking about value, like, how much did you pay for this guy versus what they're producing? Well, that's a different question. I'm basically going for who do I think is the best guy? If I'm going for value. To me, it's clearly Mike Williams, and I am going to talk about Mike Williams later on in the pod. But Derrick Henry, what a monster. A game and a half into this season, we had him in the bust list practically, and then he had a great second half of the second game, and now he's Derrick Henry again.
He's madness, man. So just to paint it, and I'm in agreement too, yes, value factors into some things, but MVP is just who is going to be on the most championship rosters. You've got to imagine Derrick Henry's a huge potential to be that. 134.5 PPR fantasy points so far, 26.9 per game, both far in ahead of the league. What's crazy is just how the production, 640 rushing yards, 7 TDs, 142 attempts are nearly 50 more than the next closest, Kamara. He's on pace. This 16-game pace is just insanity. 482 attempts, nearly 500 attempts, because we have to go for 17-game pace now. 2,176 rush yards and 24 TDs on the ground. And what's even crazier is yes, that's okay. MVP, no brainer on just that. He's also having the highest receiving season of his entire career right now. 15th in running back targets heading into last week. Those numbers haven't been updated quite yet for last week. But he did add a few more targets this last week too. So 14 receptions, 125 receiving yards. Those are both the second highest of his career in only 4 games. Top 12 among running backs so far. Number 11 in yards per route run with 2.27. The guy's getting it done as a receiver, and all those ridiculous 16-game paces I just put up. To me, there's no one else that can be in this conversation right now as MVP. Eckler, if you were factoring in value, is damn close, but to me, it's Henry.
No, Henry's the guy. And I remember when we were doing our preseason shows and you projected Henry's stat line, it was just stupid. And I was like, all right, well, I don't think he's going to be a bust or anything, but he's clearly not going to perform up to these ridiculous standards that you have up here. And he's totally exceeded them so far.
Right. I think I had 1,900 rush yards and 20
touchdowns on the ground. And I was like, you have to smash the under there just because it seems unrealistic. But anyway, he's proven me wrong. I'm a Henry fan. I always have been. He's my MVP.
Yeah, we're in lockstep here. So Derrick Henry, quarter 1 MVP in fantasy. Yes.
All right. Biggest threat to fantasy MVP. I had a little bit of a trouble answering this because some of the guys I would put as a threat to him are guys that were already on that list. But if I'm going to reach outside that list, and
you don't have to necessarily. You could pick somebody that's on that list that you think's the biggest threat. That's totally fine.
I think Eckler is probably the biggest threat on that list.
I agree.
But I'm going to go a little deeper than that, and I'm going to say long shot Zeke.
Interesting. Zeke, do you have any that would not be my pick. Damn juicy.
I said long shot. It's just I wasn't a super big believer in Zeke, honestly, going into the season, but the Cowboys offense is just an absolute juggernaut. He's getting tons of touches. He's catching the ball. They play in a terrible division. I wouldn't put much money on this, but he's my long shot to be a threat to fantasy MVP. If we're going to people on the list, I'd say Austin Eckler.
And I go Eckler. And there's one other I'm going to toss out there that you're going to be like, oh, yeah, duh. I could have had that guy too. 10th in running back snap share for Eckler, though. That's he's always hovered around 50% of the snaps. He's always bottom 25 in snap share. He's top 10, and that's huge for this guy given how wildly efficient he is. He's second in PPR fantasy points with 21.6. So, again, a big gap from him and Henry. with the 5 points there. But still, third in total TDs among running backs. That's huge for Austin Eckler. 4 touchdowns already. He's getting all the goal line work. He's also fourth in receptions with 18. He's dominating. He's dominating every facet of the game. He played 70% or more snaps in 2 of the 4 recent games. I love everything about Eckler, and the fact that he's getting this is, you harken back to 3 seasons ago when he was in a little bit of a timeshare with Melvin Gordon, but when Melvin Gordon got hurt, he was running back 2 behind only my other threat for MVP, Christian McCaffrey, who has put up 27.7, 24.7 PPR FPs in his only 2 full games. It's Christian McCaffrey as usual. The thing is, do they, cut down his workload now? He's gotten hurt a couple seasons in a row. I don't know. But still, it's McCaffrey. Like, he has to always be in that conversation of MVP if and when he comes back. And it's looking like it's going to be as early as this week.
Yeah, you're right. I should have said that. That makes a lot more sense. I think that's more likely than Zeke or whatever. All right. Top draft day value that stays hot.
A lot on this list.
All of 2021. And I actually did research on this one instead of just like being like, this is what I think.
Yeah.
Guys that outperformed expectations and the biggest draft day values. We already touched on one of them, but I'm going to go down a quick list of nominees that we have. We got Deebo Samuel, Mike Williams, Cooper Kupp, Jamar Chase, Kareem Hunt, DJ Moore, and I added Dawson Knox to the list. Just as far as like a huge value. We also have some other guys below. So if there's any guys like that you want to touch on there, you can go ahead. But just real quick, Deebo Samuel was drafted on average as the wide receiver 36. He's 5th in PPR scoring right now. Mike Williams, average ADP 47. He's the wide receiver too. That's like 120 overall. So he was like taking, he's like a late 10th rounder, like shot in the dark, and this guy's putting up 27 points a game. Cooper Kupp, 18th ADP. Now he's 1 as wide receiver. Jamar Chase, 29 ADP. These are just wide receiver, not overall rankings. He's the 7th wide receiver as far as scoring. DJ Moore, ADP 22, and he's 6th overall. I just want to say, other than Tyreek Hill and Devontae Adams, the other guys in the top 7, they're all these unheralded guys that I just said. Hill and Adams are 3 and 4 respectively. They're doing about what we thought they would do. But these guys, just if you got any of these guys, even one of them, but much less 2 or 3, like you're killing it right now. Those are the receivers up on the list that I have. You got to admit, those are some pretty serious discrepancies between ADP and actual production, right?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. And I think this kind of can help inform the overall landscape of fantasy. There's only 1-2 running backs that we could even consider as huge outperforming expectations. There's certainly been some guys that have hit and been great. Look at how many wide receivers are panning out. This is why we always say breed those bell cows, stack your running back stable early and often, because you can so often find wide receiver values. Now, granted, this is probably the most epic contrast we've seen in many, many years, maybe ever, in terms of this many later receivers panning out to be not just like top 24 useful guys, but legitimately wide receiver 1s. And not a whole ton of them seem all that fluky. And that's how we're going to break down this category too, which is who's going to stay hot from these nominees and who started off hot that's going to cool off. Do you want to toss out your favorite that you feel in your gut is definitely going to stay rolling so far?
I do, but I want to comment on 2 more guys before I do that, because I went down some receivers. I brought up Dawson Knox. His ADP was tight end 34. 34th tight end taken on the board, which means there were backups on other teams that were taken before him, like a lot of them. He's the tight end 2 right now. So as far as value, you could have had him for nothing, literally nothing. It's almost a sure thing he wasn't taken in your draft. You could have grabbed him off waivers. So that's real value. Also, you talked about how there's not that many running backs. Kareem Hunt was the one guy that jumped out at me. He was average wide running back 23. And he's actually the RB5 right now. So that's pretty impressive,
right?
Substantially. And that's going to factor into some of my thoughts later as far as who's going to stay hot, who's going to cool off. We'll see what happens. But as far as guys that I think will stay hot, and I mean, I don't know. I don't feel like these are super hot takes. I think Mike Williams is going to stay hot. Mm-hmm. I mean, look at his role. Now, he had 1 terrible game this year, but I mean, 4 out of his 5 games, he's been unbelievably productive. Not like, he had 7 catches for 90 yards. I mean, like he's getting like 24, 25, 26 or more fantasy points, which is huge, right?
Absolutely.
Cooper Kupp, I think he will stay hot. I don't know if he'll end the year as the wide receiver 1, but I mean, he's a top 5 or 10 guy, like no question about it, in my opinion. I think Brady will remain hot. Look at the weapons he's got. I think Antonio Brown will remain hot. He's outperformed expectations. I mean, look who's throwing him the ball. I think that Jamar Chase will probably stay hot unless Joe Burrow's throat's messed up worse than I think it is. And I think Debo will probably remain hot. I mean, I'm banking on Trey Lance a little bit, but I like Debo Samuel going forward. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm with you on that whole list of nominees. There's not a whole ton that I'm like, this guy screams regression. There is the Jamar Chase. He's only 42nd in targets right now, yet he's still the wide receiver 7 in points. Like, that does scream it should regress, but I think he's just so damn good that
he's really good.
Even if the volume did not bump up, he'll continue to remain this elite efficiency. Now, I also think the targets are going to continue to climb as well the more and more he continues to perform like this. So, yeah, I think all these guys, and just a handful of other names to toss out there is like great values so far. Daryl Henderson, he's not like towards the top in terms of ultimate fantasy points right now, but per game, he's had 16 or more in every single full start he's made. He's looking like a great guy that I could see. Well, I'm going to talk about him in later like league winners, but he seems a little bit under the radar because he did miss some time. He does seem to get dinged up. But in that like running back dead zone, that was what it was labeled coming into the year. He's come out as a true RB1 each and every week. So I really like him. DeAndre Swift as well kind of fell to round 4 by the end of the season by the time it was getting going. Leading running backs and targets, routes run, all that good stuff, looking elite as a receiver. Fantasy points per touch remain in the top 5. He's looking amazing as well. So those are two other guys. Rob Gronkowski would have been on this list had he stayed healthy, but he's kind of fizzled out a little bit. And Zach Moss seems gross, but he's really taken over that backfield. So there's a couple other names to nominate for who's outperformed their value. Now, who do I think is going to stay hot that I'm most confident in? It's Cooper Kupp to me. I don't think he's going to stay, as you said, maybe the wide receiver 1 in fantasy, especially after last week. We just saw Robert Woods. We're going to talk about underperformers. See 14 targets, 12 catches. The squeaky wheel got greased, and he outperformed Kupp. But even in that blow-up game for Robert Woods, Kupp still had like 16.1 PPR points.
He did 7 catches for 92.
Yeah, still a decent, solid outing.
And made a couple really good catches. Like the guy's talent is real. I mean,
exactly. So really, honestly, all those wide receivers that have significantly outperformed, I don't really see any of them dropping off. Like, honestly, the only one I'm a little bit worried about would be Debo, but I'm with you in terms of, and that's just more so because of health and Trey Lance and what happens with that offense as a whole. Mike Williams, though, I'm fully confident this is not a fluke, and anybody that thinks it is and is trying to sell high is moron, in my opinion. He got all that hype about being the X receiver, getting peppered in that Michael Thomas role. He's legitimately playing Michael Thomas's role right now. It was not hyperbole, and he's better right now than Keenan Allen. I wouldn't be shocked to see that continue the rest of the year. In fact, I think it will.
Here's since you brought up Mike Thomas, let me just give you a quick list. These are wide receivers that were drafted before Mike Williams. Juju Smith-Schuster, OBJ, Kenny Golladay, Brandon Ayuk, Mike Thomas, Laviska Shenault, DJ Chark. People thought there were 2 Jacksonville receivers you'd rather have than Mike Williams. Will Fuller, Michael Gallup, and just many, many more. Those were just a few I cherry-picked.
Oh, God, that's just disgusting. Yeah, that's horrible. What about in terms of, so we gave you, I think Cooper Kupp's as real as can be. I'm not worried at all about any type of cool-off, even with Woods starting to slowly emerge again. You mentioned Mike Williams, and I think we just kind of said all these receivers are pretty good bets to us. Is there anybody that you are worried that cools off from their hot start so far in this value list?
All right, of a list that we picked from earlier, so here's the thing. I'm like 50-50 on Kareem Hunt. I think he's great. I'm naturally skeptical of anybody who's in a legitimate platoon backfield. That's the only thing I'm saying. I don't doubt his talent. I don't doubt the Browns' willingness to run the ball. But if you told me he was going to end the year RB5, I'd be pretty surprised by that. That doesn't mean he's not going to carry huge value. I just don't think he's going to be where he is right now. It's just my hunch. I suspect that Gronk will cool off when he comes back. Right now, he actually averages more points than any tight end per game, even though he's been banged up a little. I don't see that carrying out through the year. But again, I think he's going to exceed his ADP expectations. The 2 guys I really think will probably cool off that have had a pretty good start. I think Hollywood Brown will probably cool off. I'm kind of not a believer in general. And I think James Conner can't help but cool off. I didn't even like the fact that he was on this list in the first place, even though he probably deserves it production-wise.
Yeah. I mean, I made a joke on Twitter this week that first 2 weeks while I owned James Conner on my team, 0 touchdowns. Since I hate cut him and he's been motivated by this hate cut, he scored 5 touchdowns. And there's no way that's continuing. Like, there's no way.
And there's also no way that's random. That definitely happened because you cut him.
Oh, of course. Yeah, exactly. He wanted to, he heard the word. They put it in his bulletin board for sure. Yeah, he's an easy. All those guys you mentioned are pretty easy regression candidates. In particular, like I love Hollywood Brown. I love what he's doing. I love the fact that he should have 19 or more fantasy points in every game. The only reason he doesn't because he had 3 drop touchdowns.
Because he can't catch the ball.
We would be looking at like the wide receiver 1 potentially without those drops. The guy is balling out, and I think that role is going to continue. I do worry though when Bateman comes in. I think Bateman's very legit. I'm looking forward to seeing, in terms of second half stretch candidates that could blow up. I really like that guy. So I'm a little bit skeptical there'll be enough volume to go around that Hollywood will continually be 19 plus every single week. I think you're still going to be great. You're still going to get your blowups more often than you don't, but I am with you on that. In terms of like the bigger names that like a lot of people are just all about still, and this probably won't shock you, Nat, DJ Moore just doesn't do it for me ever. Now, how is he not this year? I mean, every time I watch the guy play, still stellar, still phenomenal. I mean, 30% target share in all those first 4 weeks, looking like an insane value. But he kind of fizzled out this last week, and it was a reminder that he's tied to Sam fucking Darnold. Talk about a hot start.
No, that's what you should be looking at.
Right. Like him, Danny Jones, those would be too obvious, too easy. Sam Darnold and Daniel Jones as guys that were clear hot starts, bound to cool off. Very easy. But let's go with the guy that he's thrown to that everybody is all about right now, DJ Moore. I think that target share, Robbie Anderson starting to complain. Terrace Marshall could start to emerge. This Tremble guy that we wrote about, with shout out Ian Snowdeal, awesome article on him. He's looking like a real playmaker. So I do think being tied to Sam Darnold in an offense that I just don't think there's way too many weapons for this guy to routinely average 30% of the targets, no matter how good he is. He's somebody I'd be screaming to sell high right now, hyping up how great he's been. Because as much as I love him and as much like the volume he's been seeing, I will continue to love him as a player. I don't think that volume continues, and I don't think Sam Darnold continues at the level that he's been at.
Agree completely. I think he's the wide receiver 6 right now. It's like, we'll see.
I bet he finishes outside the top 12. Despite hot start.
I agree. I actually think it might be a little lower than that because if you actually look at the wide receivers up in that point, they're very tightly bunched. Like, it's like 1 or 2 catches could catapult someone 6 spots or something like that. All right. Guys that are busts this year so far. And again, we're only 4 or 5 games into the year.
Right.
We've seen people rally and have great seasons. So I'm not writing these guys off yet necessarily, but here's some guys that you might have drafted high and just hate yourself for doing it right now. Jonathan Taylor. He was the RB10 usually. He's the RB28 right now as far as production goes. That's terrible, man. That's awful. Like really, really bad. Stephon Diggs. He was averaged the wide receiver 3 in the draft. People loved him. After Hill and Adams, he was the guy. He's the wide receiver 23 right now, being destroyed by all those guys that we just led on the last list. You had Antonio Gibson on this list. I looked up his numbers. His ADP was RB12. He's the RB12 right now. So
he got it together.
He's what he was supposed to be. But exactly. I mean, it's weird. Like I kind of thought he belonged on this list. I hadn't done the research, and then when I did, I was like, no, he's literally.
I guess we could take him off. Yeah, I guess he's been better than expected.
Right. Calvin Ridley, who I have stock in, his ADP wide receiver 5. He's the wide receiver 26 right now, and he didn't even go to London with personal problems. Come on, Calvin. Waller, this is another guy I kind of don't think belongs on the list necessarily. He was average the tight end 2, 22 overall. That's significant. I mean, he's a second-round guy in snake drafts. He's like in more range on his production and stuff. I'm not thrilled about it, but he's pretty good.
It's more so the opportunity cost with him, and because I own him in I think he's my most rostered like second-round pick, and it's just the guys that went around him that I wish I had instead of him because those teams aren't doing so hot. I mean, he had that 19 target week 1. I believe he's been under 10 points in 3 of those other 4 games and like 12 in the other. It hasn't been worthy of the second-round pick when you consider who else was going
unquestionably. And I'll bring George Kittle up in that same conversation as an even worse example. ADP tight end 3, 26 overall. He's 16th in total points amongst tight ends. And if you're like, oh, he's missed some games, that's not fair. We should be doing average. He's 12th amongst tight ends in average. If you're the tight end 12, like you're a nobody. Like that's nothing. You can get that guy off the scrap heap anytime you want. He might be my biggest bust overall. If it's not him, if it's Kittle.
No, I think that's a great call. Yeah.
Kittle, if it's not Kittle, it's AJ Brown for me. He was averaged the wide receiver 7 as far as being picked. He is the wide receiver 73 right now. I know there was an injury, one of the last couple games. Wide receiver 73. He's averaging like 7 points a game.
Oh,
and this is a guy that like was taken very, very high.
Yeah. I mean, those guys are all great on the bust list. I know we're splitting this target up in terms of like who we think is going to rebound and we're not worried about, and who we think are just, you got to hit the panic button right now. You can't have a bust list though, Nat. The one guy you didn't mention that's going to take home is going to take home my hardware for, I'm just going to switch the banner for bust that doesn't pan out, that does not get out of his slump, is Allen Robinson. How is he not the biggest bust of this year? Taken in the early third by most people. He has not had a top 40 wide receiver week yet this season. Nobody has gotten him out of his slump. He was better with Mitch Trubisky, Blake Bortles, like Glennon. He's played better with Nick Foles, like with all this crap quarterbacks. What is he? I'm just going to look it up real quick in terms of what he is. Allen Robinson is.
It's a good call. Like, I mean, he's an absolutely unbelievable, unrepentant bust. There's
taken as the wide receiver 11, 31st overall. So again, early third round. He's the wide receiver 61 in fantasy right now. Wide receiver 61. Below such heralded names as Sammy Watkins, Nelson Aguilar, who's been awful. He's worse than Nelson Aguilar. Khalif Raymond, Kendrick Bourne, his teammate Darnell Mooney. I mean, Zach Pascal. Kadarius Toney. I saw it. So
that's based on like one game too.
Toney has more yards in one game than Allen Robinson has all season.
All right,
that's all you need to know.
I'm going to push back, but I don't want this to come off as like I'm defending Allen Robinson in any way. He's been an absolute and total bust. AJ Brown was drafted higher and is lower on the scoring list than Allen Robinson. Like he actually like was taken. He's the 7 and he's 73. Like he's even worse and was taken even higher. So I mean, you have to at least make a case for that. And I would actually make the case still for Kittle over Robinson, because Kittle I think was more hyped. As good as we think Robinson was. I mean, Kittle was like late second rounder for a lot of people, right?
Yeah, he was. All these guys, AJ Brown, Kittle, Robinson, were all top of round 2, like the end of round 2, early 3, and all of them have been just completely horrendous. I still go with Robinson in terms of who I think is the least likely to pan out because of how run heavy. I mean, he ran it 34 times without Montgomery in the lineup. And Justin Fields, and that was just running backs. Justin Fields had a handful of attempts. I don't believe Fields has thrown for more than 200 yards in a game yet. I could double check that, but I know like last week was 100. It's pathetic. And
it's terrible.
When he does air it out, it's going to Mooney. That's his preferred guy at this point. It seems pretty clear. To me, Robinson, I have far less faith in rebounding than I do anybody else. AJ Brown, I can see though. Do you think he rebounds at all? Like what are your thoughts on that situation?
I don't.
Yeah.
No, I don't. I mean, I could be wrong. I mean, but man, that's a terrible spot. I think I agree with you on Robinson being the one that's most likely to continue doing what he's doing.
Yeah. I think Robinson like truly might not get you a single useful game this year, whereas AJ Brown at some point will blow up. But my question is like, if you don't do it against Jacksonville when Julio Jones is also out,
that's kind of my whole point.
When are you going to get it done? Right? Like, Henry is just that much of a focal point at this point that I don't know that you can ever rely on AJ Brown. So I'm with you. Both of those guys firmly on my list of busts that like I am worried they don't pan out. If you can somehow sell either of them, I don't think anyone's going to come get Allen Robinson off your plate. I might hate cut him this week. We'll see. I think you could still squeeze something out of AJ Brown since he was hurt, and you can kind of build that narrative. But even still, I would be selling those guys as fast as I can. What about in terms of the bust? So we gave this list of guys and so many big names on there. Which ones are you not worried about? Who do you think rebounds? Who would you buy low on essentially at this point?
I'll give you 3. Keenan Allen. I think that this is more a product of, what he's done in the past and the Chargers offense. We've seen the game that Mike Williams did not produce. Allen was just peppered with target after target in that game. His talent is there. If he stays healthy, I expect his numbers to come up. I don't think he's going to be the top receiver fantasy-wise on his own team, but I think he's going to be a good player. If you could get him on the cheap, I might be interested.
Don't you just love, by the way, the Chargers? Like, aren't they
yeah,
just
they're probably they might be my favorite team to watch. Right?
That team is just awesome. I was so pumped that they pulled that out against the Browns, and like it's clear they've passed the torch from like the Phillip Rivers era where they were always competitive, but always found a way to blow it in the last minute. Like they're just getting it done now, and I love to see it. Whether it's Herbert, and it's definitely Herbert, but also the coach. Like everything about them just feels good, and I'm rooting for him. I'm rooting.
Love him. And I don't know I don't know if you agree with me on Allen, but I think he'll probably bounce back and do pretty well.
It's too good of an offense. Even if he doesn't beat out Mike Williams, yes, I'm with you. It's too good of an offense. Right. He's too smooth of a player. I'm with you.
Darren Waller, who I mentioned before, I think he'll improve. I don't see him being a disappointment all year. I don't think he's going to live up to where he was drafted and the expectations, but I think he's going to be one of the top producing tight ends pretty consistently all year. So if that counts as a rebound, okay. The last one, I actually think Calvin Ridley, this is maybe some wistful thinking on my part because I have him. Matt Ryan's looked really good the last 2 or 3 games. And Ridley didn't go to London. I mean, I feel like Ryan's like 8 touchdowns, no interceptions, like the last 3 games, something like that. Ridley's awesome. And I mean, he's being held back by Ryan. If Ryan starts playing well, I think Ridley's numbers will go up. What do you think?
I'm less worried about Ridley than I am some of these other guys that were going in that same range. We already talked about AJ Brown and all them. But I am a little worried that, like, yes, Ryan's looking better, but almost all of that is going to his tight ends on like 5 yards. And like they're drawing up some pretty good schemes and Ridley certainly can get it done after the catch. You got to hope that they use him in this role that they're using Pitts in, that they're using freaking Hayden Hurston, Lee Smith, whoever the hell that is. Like it's all tight ends. And that's good and dandy. Hopefully they put Ridley in a position to succeed like them. I'm a little bit more worried than you are about Ridley rebounding myself.
Inside, I'm extremely worried, but I'm putting on a brave face for the listeners.
The guy that I'm most confident in bouncing back is Stephon Diggs. I know it's been ugly, and I know this was his worst game by far. That. Yeah, he's by far my favorite, though. Yes, only 5 targets last week, 2 catches. This is where you go get him. That was scary, but up to this game, he had seen 28%, 27%, 23%, and 33% of the targets. So he's still getting that volume we saw last year. They hadn't been hitting on the 15-plus yard throws. They only had 1 of 10 of those targets completed across the last 4 weeks, whereas they had 7 of 7 completed last year at this time. So yes, I get that they're not connecting quite like they were, but Allen looks back. I mean, he is slinging the rock all over the place. And yes, there's more mouths to feed, but it did look like Beasley's a little dinged up. Manny Sanders is awesome. Like I love how he's playing, but that's going to cool off. They're going to continue to draw more attention his way. So if there's one player on this list, I'm like, yeah, he's been a bust relative to his price, but I would buy low on as fast as I could. That would be Stephon Diggs for me. I am still a little worried about pretty much everyone else on that list. The other one that it almost feels like cheating because I had this as my rebound guy heading into the week. And then I should have played him because of that. Robert Woods, though, I figured it was just too good of an offense, too good of a QB, too good of a play caller, and that he would have to figure it out at some point. But now we just saw 14 targets, 12 catches. Like we've already seen the rebound. So
now if you come out obvious. With the hot take, hey, you know who I like? This Robert Woods guy.
Yeah, this guy
the guy that they threw every single pass to last week. I like
exactly. Him. Pitts is kind of similar in that sense too. Like had been busting, was on this list. And then after week 5, it's like clear this guy is a monster and he could still be heavily involved. What about, and I guess we would call it like bust of the year. This one's a little bit different in my opinion, though. It's like a sleeping giant. Who's been quiet so far that could truly explode? I know you said you had a little trouble coming up with anyone. Do you have any names that pop into mind? Because I got a handful I could nominate and you could tell me what you think.
Why don't I play off you a little bit? I don't have an immediate one. I got guys I think will rebound. I'm not sure if there's one I'd elevate above the rest, but maybe I just haven't thought of them yet.
So one of them, and maybe this is just pure stubbornness on my part, I do think Trey Lance.
Are you about to say Josh Gordon?
No, God, no. That would be like 18 years of stubbornness. No, I'm not that foolish. I'm going Trey. Yeah, good Lord. Trey Lance is one of them. I get this last week. What is the QB 17, QB 18 was about as dreadful as can be. Some really bad looking throws, but he was that rushing touchdown away on the goal line. Like it should have gotten in. Would have been the QB 11 there. 2 dropped potential touchdown passes. Who knows where he ends up if those gets completed. so many holding calls on 15-yard gains. Like, there was just everything that could have gone wrong, went wrong, and he still was the QB 17, QB 18 on the week, depending how everything pays out tonight. That's actually a little bit encouraging to me. I hate that it didn't just come out immediately. Like, when Mahomes just lit it up from week one, you're like, all right, this guy's a destined to be a stud. But we knew he was a little more raw. We knew he didn't have the time that he needed to sit behind Garoppolo. But if they continue back to him at this point, I think he could be one. The guy I feel best about, though, Javonte Williams. I mean, he passes every single eyeball test you could ever imagine. And the metrics back it up well in the top 10 in terms of yards after contact, despite being so low in attempts. I think he's like 29th right now in total attempts. He's top 10 in yards after contact. He's top 5 in yards after contact per attempt. The guy is just a tackle breaking machine. This offense is moving the ball quite well. They're in the red zone so often. I don't get why they're not just handing it to this beast. But you've got to imagine at some point it flips from about a near dead even 50-50, if anything, favoring Melvin Gordon split. It's so much clear. It couldn't be clearer how much better Javonte Williams is than Melvin Gordon at this stage. Gordon does always get dinged up too. So whether it's injury, whether the coaching staff just finally fucking wakes up, Pat Shurmur has read in bell cows before. I think by midseason, we got a couple more weeks here. I think Javonte takes that over. We got a soft late season schedule. I could see him going nuts. And then the last one, that doesn't need much explanation, but Michael Thomas. I mean, he's been hurt. He's been on the IR. Him and Jerry Jeudy also kind of fits that bill as two just potential monster alphas that could light it up down the stretch. I mean, Winston is slinging the rock whenever they let him. It seems like they're kind of taking the training wheels off and they're just going to be like, fuck it, let's let this guy rip. And that could be good news for Michael Thomas. We've seen Winston sustain great stats from Mike Evans, from Chris Godwin before. And look, I mean, Callaway's kind of rebounding these last few weeks.
I know. After I cut him like 3 weeks ago.
The hate cut, baby. They get motivated by it. So those are three guys that I have down as like potential league winners. The only other one would be Tony Pollard. If anything ever happens to Zeke, of course that guy would just change leagues. So
I think you could say the same thing about like Alex Madison though in that situation.
Of course,
I mean, like we could throw out a few handcuffs that might be true for your list. I like Javonte Williams by far the most. As much as I like Trey Lance, I don't realistically see him as you're saying a league winner. I don't see that happening. I think that the floor for a starting quarterback in fantasy is too high for this guy to come in and win a league, in my opinion. I just he'd have to be like 50 points a game or something like that. And I just, as good as he is, I don't see that happening. He might end up being a real nice asset or a nice steal for someone, improve at the quarterback position, 6 points a game, something like that. I don't see the guy winning a league for somebody, not this year anyway.
And just to hype our own selves up too, Nat, last year we had the Sleeping Giant Award. Yes, two like this. But when we asked for a Sleeping Giant who could like light up the league, become a league winner last year, Herbert hadn't taken over. Like he had a couple of good flashes, but we were like, this kid's shown enough that we really think he could go on an insane tear. Then he went to lead on like the league in passing and, tap ourselves on the back. We're pretty good with this award in the past. And I think Javonte Williams isn't like, I think a lot of people are recognizing just how damn good this guy looks, but it's, even though it might not be that bold, people are missing it. And he's going for way too cheap in trades right now. If you have a 4-1 roster, 3-2 even, and you have a little bit of flexibility to wait on this guy another week or two, I love him. I guess the other one I want to toss out there is Kenneth Gainwell too. Like if something happens to Sanders, I really like what Gainwell looks like in this offense. But let's continue forward.
All right, let's roll through so we can get to the mailbag. Let's get through our last few categories. Waiver wire pickup of the year. We got Patterson, Manny Sanders, Alex Madison, Dawson Knox. To me, it's clearly Patterson. I'm not 100% sure what it will be at the end of the year or even halfway through the year. It might be Dawson Knox. I mean, it could be Madison if Cook goes down. But look at Patterson. Look what the guy's done. And he's been on a few of our, like, we're higher than Hail Mary for the week, stuff like that. And I remember, like, 2 weeks ago, I said to you, like, you're too low on him. His floor is, like, 15 points. And it's true. Like, that's his floor. Like, he had just a ho-hum game in London, 18.5 fantasy points. He's the running back 3. Cordero Patterson in 2021 through 5 games is the RB3 in fantasy. That's it. That's my whole case.
And I don't think you need to make much more of a case than that. It's been absolutely insane. But if you'd like some stats to back it up, he's my winner too. He's now seen his snaps jump from 33 to 35, 42, dropped to 30% in week 4. He still scored 3 touchdowns, absolute monster. And then 59% this last week, 60% snap player. Number 1 among running backs in receiving yards, number 2 in total TDs, number 1 player in fantasy points above expectations. He's been over 14 points, in fact, 16 PPR points in 4 straight games. Nothing feels fluky either. Like, I get it's not the highest of volume rolls, but that's only continuing to climb. So that's going to just constantly buoy out, I think. Even if he doesn't keep this insane efficiency going, I really like him just to keep this riding. So, yeah, he's my clear-cut winner. All these other guys have been great and could be great the rest of the season, especially Knox, as you said, the tight end too. Like, I mean, that's insane for a waiver wire guy to be actually steady as a tight end. But, yeah, to me, it's definitely Patterson. I do want to toss out Dalton Schultz as well as a nominee. Yeah. Again, it's Patterson. Yeah. But this guy is the tight end 4 in PPR right now, likely to be top 5. He's seen 28, 36, and 25% of the target share these last 3 weeks. Granted, Gallup's been out, and I wonder if that stays steady, but it seems like that rapport is just too damn money. He's going to be a top 5 tight end the rest of the year, in my opinion.
Agree on that one, too. Yeah, definitely. I think one thing that all these awards made me realize, if you reached for a tight end, if you reached for a quarterback, you probably made a real mistake.
Yeah, other than Kelsey, who's still been solid, but even then, it's
great. But Kelsey, look, for where we liked him, for where you had him on your big board, he's not that. He's not like the 6th best player in fantasy or whatever this year. You agree with that, right? Okay.
I do.
Yeah. Future waiver wire hero. You went with Kadarius Toney, and I don't have a rebuttal to that. So are you sticking with him?
Yeah. The only risk with that one is he is getting X-rays today. Obviously, Shepard coming back could eat into that target share, but how could you take this guy off the field? He looks better than everyone else out there, not just because the Giants have minimal talent. Like, instead of defenders, he's just operating on a gear that's different than everyone. 189 yards this last week. Remember, he was my Hail Mary of the week, Nat. So, like, we've been talking about this guy for a bit of time. It's hard to be like Odell Beckham's rookie season, but this guy is just that electrifying, that making leaping grabs after the catch, especially, so dynamite. He's doing all of those crazy things that there's not a layer of the field he can't win. There's not a route that he can't do. Like, he's not as refined as Odell Beckham was coming into the league on his routes, but he's still beating everybody in terms of that quickness and separation. I love the guy. I think he's only going to continue to get his role peppered. We got Galladay. He avoided like a season-ending injury, but he's going to be banged up. They need some playmakers. Of course, again, his own injury, if he got X-rays, Daniel Jones's health status, those will all play a role. But even Glennon was slinging it to him. Just to give you one other in case he is hurt, and this doesn't end up being on the rebounds, we did talk about Rashad Bateman. I think, we're seeing this rookie class have
that's a good call.
And looking pretty damn solid with it. But also Jeff Wilson. I want to continue to emphasize, I think Jeff Wilson is going to be that 49ers starting running back, possibly as early as week 7. That's the first week you get activated from the PUP after their bye. If so, he's going to be a beast. He led the team in rushing last year, rushing TDs. In fact, he had 10. He was 10th in the NFL in rushing TDs. He was the running back 2 over the fantasy playoffs, had a monster championship winning week for you guys. I totally see that happening again. We've talked about how soft their schedule is. Houston, Tennessee, Atlanta over their final 3 games in the playoffs. And whoever their starting running back is going to be putting up money points. To me, I think that's going to be Jeff Wilson. So another guy that's on waiver wires now. 20% of leagues is the only time he's rostered. Go get him. He's going to be a stretch run hero at running back.
Okay. Heard it here first. Positional number 1s by the end of the year. We're going to roll down by position real quick. Quarterback. Who do I think is going to be the number 1 scoring quarterback at the end of the year? I think it's going to be Brady or Justin Herbert. And the interesting thing about me picking those 2 guys, obviously I have 5 weeks of data to look at. Neither one of them has the Konami upside you're always
it's crazy,
touting, right? Isn't that weird? They're basically
it's wild.
Pocket guys, right?
Exactly. You would never think a statue would be number 1, and here we are. The statue is probably going to be number 1. I have Josh Allen myself going to Konami. I'm going to go with the Cannon Arm, the Konami. He's starting to click, and he's going to rip it the rest of the year. Back-to-back years as the number 1 QB, in my opinion. Surprised neither of us picked Mahomes. That's kind of wild.
What? I feel like we could do a whole podcast just about the Chiefs.
Yeah, right?
No, I'm not picking Mahomes.
I know.
All right, running back. I think it's going to be Henry.
Henry as well. We've already raved about him enough, and I don't see anything changes. I mean, 482 carries, like, that's a little scary. Like, could he hold up? And then you look at the guy and you're like, yeah, he's a fucking tank. So, yeah, of course he's going to hold up. So, yeah, I'm going Henry.
All right, and I will just say for wide receiver, I mean, we just dissed Patrick Mahomes a little bit. If I were a betting man, I'd bet on Tyreek Hill.
I'd go Devontae Adams, just too steady of a target share. I mean, what he just did to that defense against Cincinnati this last weekend. More of those days are coming in his future because they have no one else. There's like no one else for Rodgers to throw to. Hill will have those, maybe in terms of like
Randall Cobb
at the end. Yeah, right. Exactly. We saw that disappear. Adams is too damn good. If you give Rodgers 3 seconds and you see him uncork it, you know exactly where it's going. It's a beautiful thing having him on my team. I absolutely love it. It's going to be Devontae.
All right. And last but not least, tight ends. I'm going to be extremely boring, and I'm going to say Travis Kelsey.
Yeah, I mean, he's been the tight end one for 5 straight years. I don't see that. There's no reason that's going to change, even though he hasn't been
he's the tight end one right now.
And he's been having a quote-unquote down year. And the guy still has like 4 or 5 touchdowns. Monster. He's still a monster. I'm absolutely in agreement.
All right. We talked about fantasy rookies of the year and, Najee Harris, Jamar Chase, the 2 obvious guys. On our sheet, I picked Chase, but then I looked at it, and I actually think that Harris probably deserves my vote more. I'm more of a fan of Chase, which I think is probably why I picked him. But, I mean, I feel like Harris is like the RB3 or something like that.
He is.
And for a rookie, I mean, that's amazing. So I'm changing my vote to Najee Harris.
Yeah, 93% of the snaps, 96% of the Steelers running back touches. There's no workhorse like that's ever been at this level. It's freaking insane. Number 1 in running back targets so far this year. He's not overly efficient. He's running back 30 in fantasy points per opportunity, but that volume's going nowhere, especially now that Juju's hurt. More targets opened up for this guy. So to me, it is Najee, as we've talked about the top 2, the tougher to get points positions, very top heavy, and then it just drops off completely. He's been one of the only safe options you've had all year. So I love him. I do want to mention, though, Chase has been just insanely efficient. Again, just to reemphasize, I said this at the top, 41st in targets, 7th in fantasy points, 2nd in fantasy points over expectations, behind only Cordarrelle Patterson. The guy has been a monster. We just saw 10 targets this last week for 159 and a score. I think more of those 10 target plus days are coming for the guy. He's just too damn good. It's going to come at the expense of Higgins, the expensive Boyd. He's just going to be a true alpha. We're going to be taking him in round 2 everywhere next year. But I think we're going to be taking Najee Harris top 5 everywhere next year. Yeah. So it's a crazy rookie class in that sense. Intrigued to see what Pitts does the rest of the year after that huge game last week.
Me too.
160 yards. Like, I'd love to see him get into this conversation. I think Javonte could get in this conversation if and when he takes over. He looks better as a player than Najee. The volume just won't be there for him. But I'm excited to see those 2 guys I'm watching pretty hard. And as we mentioned, Tony, that he won't take over for Chase, but he could be, an insane talent moving down the stretch here. Let's wrap up with Super Bowl predictions, Nat. Who are you thinking? Who are you taking?
I'm taking the Buffalo Bills over the Los Angeles Rams, 31-21.
Wow, so you don't even have the Bucs in it, huh?
No. I've already seen the Rams beat up the Bucs.
It's the Bucs. Brady's going to win it again. I think it's going to be – I think the Bills – I'm with you. I'm Team Bills. I'm going them to make it to the Super Bowl. I think we're going to get an unbelievable shootout-style game. You know me. I'm always going for points. But I'm going 41 Bucs. Let's call it 38. We'll call it a field goal game. And monster, just beautiful performance in overtime. Brady wins it for him. Bucs taking down the Super Bowl.
I would like to see either of those matchups. I won't be disappointed.
It'd be beautiful. Yeah.
It'd be great. All right. You want to hit the mailbag? We got maybe 20, 25 minutes.
We had 40, I think, the last time I checked. So, yeah, we got some people in here.
All right. Let's go down. Let's check them out, and then we can get you guys off to Monday Night Football. All right. Kevin Rice. And he put this in before we even started the show. So I respect this. Bust of the year has to be A-Rob. The guy is killing me. The Wolf agreed.
That's my guy. I'm with you there, and I do not see it turning around.
Mike Schneider, I need 32 from Latavius Murray and Michael Pittman to avoid starting 1 and 4. That's a big ask, bud.
I'd give you a 15% chance of getting it. Michael Pittman has seen 12 targets in back-to-back weeks. If he can start actually converting those into touchdowns and points, you might have a shot. I do think Murray will get you like 10, but he's such a low-ceiling player. You need like a 2-touchdown day to expect anything above 15. So you're really hoping for a Pittman blow-up. And
I agree with you. 15% sounds about right.
Yeah, that's about right.
Kevin Rice, Wolf, do you see Manny Sanders being flex-worthy going forward? I absolutely do. I know you're asking the Wolf, but I definitely do.
Yep, 100%. I have him as a flex in a couple leagues, and I don't see myself moving him at this point. He might disappear every now and again. It is going to be a little bit of a tricky offense, but with Beasley a little dinged up, maybe it just becomes that much steadier. And he's a great red zone threat. He's killing it. So I like Manny Sanders. Yeah, definitely.
Mike Schneider, I got an interesting dynasty trade for my one now team, Emmanuel Sanders, Hopkins, and a 2023 second for Sutton, 2022 and 2024 first. I will be getting Hopkins.
That's tough. I mean, I can see the win now potential. Sanders certainly nice in there, but that's a lot future.
Yeah.
I don't think I would be doing that unless you're like, I am guaranteed to win this, because Hopkins, just as good as he's been, it's a little different than an Adams or a Tyree, because like that offense just spreads it out so much.
He hasn't been that good. He hasn't been that good. I mean, you know me, I love Hopkins, and I mean he totally mossed Josh Norman yesterday, and I mean he's amazing. If you look at his numbers, he hasn't been that great.
No, exactly. I don't think this is you're mortgaging your future so badly here, Michael, that you're not getting enough win now to push you. He's not a guarantee to push you over the edge. To give up your future for him, I think is too much. And reminder, guys, just a thumbs up, help us get out to more people, would mean the world as we continue to grow the pack. And if you haven't already liked and subbed, if you're enjoying what you're hearing, at least consider doing that so you can be here for all our shows. Do
you think I should do like a GoFundMe for my hand injury?
Right? How much will the truth raise for his hand? Yes, go for
over under like $75. We'll see.
Under. No one's paying for your hand.
I don't know. There's some fans out there. Toon says, "Hey, Truth, if Pittman gets one catch or 5 yards, I'll get my first win. Thanks." Yeah, you can't brag about beating me in the Dynasty League. I mean,
dude, I feel like
it's like beating like a small child or something.
I thought I had set my lineup and I woke up and nothing had gone through in Sleeper. I don't know why or what happened. I had bad service at the Anchor the night before, and I feel like such a dick. I was that guy that like didn't set a full lineup, and I hate those people. I'm gonna be that guy at some point this year. It hasn't happened yet. I hate Sleeper. I'm just never on Sleeper. It's like,
but I'm not either. And Dynasty's not for me. Like it's over my head. We can talk about that another time.
Yeah.
Mike Schneider, aiming too low. Kyle, need 100 yards and 2 touchdowns from Pittman. Yeah.
Oh shit. I love to see this guy's alive and kicking. Denny Jennings.
Good evening, Denny.
He was at he went with his boys to Carolina to watch Philly take them down. And I don't like rooting for the Eagles ever, Denny, but you've at least gotten a soft spot in my heart for the Eagles. I was pumped. I thought of you. The first thing I thought when they scored that touchdown, I was like, Daddy's there. He's probably going absolutely nuts. So
you want to know something that's funny about that? Like my best friend from home is from Philly, Johnny Goodtimes. Like he comes on every now and then. I have never pulled a shred for Philly because my best friend likes them, but because of Denny, I kind of pull for Philly a little bit.
I know,
just a little bit.
And I like Hurts too. Hurts is intriguing to me. I want him to do well. So yeah, exactly. I never want to.
I mean, I've never met Denny. I only know him through the internet, and I still respect him more than my best friend.
Exactly. Oh, 100% more than all my buddies combined.
25. Start Jamar Chase over DK Metcalf until Wilson returns. That's not crazy, man.
It's not crazy. I think it does depend on your matchups each week. 25. It's not like a lock because we did see DK catch a touchdown with Jalen Ramsey on him with Geno Smith throwing him the ball. Geno actually looked kind of solid.
Geno looked better than people want to admit.
Exactly. So it definitely depends on, who they're facing and what the matchups are. You could consider it now, but I would not say that's a lock 25. No.
Hey, and Toon says, "Hey, people, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share." Thank you. I couldn't have said it any better. 25, nice Red Sox hat, Boston all day. Let's
take it down, 25. Where are you from? What part of the are you from Mass? Where are you from? Let us know, 25.
Bo Gable. I would until Geno proves otherwise. Chase and Burrows are proven and they're doing work.
So he's saying yes, bench him. I think it depends on your matchup.
I don't think it's a crazy take, but I wouldn't say it's like a locked in thing. Right. Toon says Mike Williams is MVP in my opinion, just because of where he was being drafted, so he's the most valuable. We both agree with you on that. Like the Henry MVP thing, we just said that's the best guy. That's the guy that's scoring the most points, the most valuable is how we define that. But we definitely think that Williams is the guy who's punched up the most.
I see, in terms of value, like if you're looking at value as draft day value, valuable Mike Williams is that. I'm looking at value as like who is the tank that you'd want as your centerpiece. If you had the choice of anybody in the NFL right now to make your fantasy team around, to me, that's Derrick Henry.
And that's how we looked at it. Now, as far as what you're saying, Toons, I in my auction, I got Mike Williams for $2. That was excellent value.
Amazing. That's incredible.
I got Cooper Kupp, Antonio Brown, and Mike Williams for a combined
Remember
$24.
In the preseason, there was a point where you had texted me is to pick up like Tony Jones or some crap, and you're like, do I drop Callaway or do I drop Mike Williams?
Who the hell's Tony Jones?
I don't know. There's some player. It was Tyson Williams or Tony Jones or some random player that you're like, oh, which receiver do I drop out of Callaway or Mike Williams? Thank God we went and didn't drop Mike Williams. You would be killing me.
I tried to trade Williams in a couple trades like before the season started, like as a throw-in.
Right. Yeah.
And no one wanted him.
Exactly. Yeah. Oh, thank God you didn't get rid of him. You'd be kicking yourself.
Yeah. All right. Here we go. Next up, I think we skipped. Bo.
Oh, sorry, Bo. Yeah, I didn't mean to skip you.
How are we feeling about Edmonds rest of the season? Between Connor stealing touchdowns, his health, Edmonds' health, and Arizona being so dynamic, it's hard to get everyone targets.
Yeah. I think the whole argument for him is, the third highest target share among running backs coming into this week. Didn't see it happen this week. And there just are so many mouths to fill. So if he's not getting the scores, we can't bank on him continually ripping off long run after long run. I still like him, but yeah, I am far more worried after this last week. The fact that Connor continues to be a thing is just like, I didn't expect that, and he is. So yes, I'm a bit worried, Bo. I definitely am.
Denny says, Henry for MVP. F you, Mike Williams, because I have Allen. Yeah, I imagine you're not the only Allen owner who feels that way.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure a lot of them do.
Robert Moreno, Dodgers versus Red Sox series. Brady's definitely my MVP. 10th round pick, lighting it up. Kupp is runner-up for me. I see your point. But like I said, Mike Williams was a late 10th round, early 11th round guy, and he's producing at a huge, at a flex position. So I would still put him above if you're defining it that way. But Brady certainly has exceeded expectations.
Just insane for Brady. I get that, Moreno. I think a lot of people that own Brady are more prone to say he's the MVP because you witness this guy
what he's doing is amazing.
It's just the best. And nobody at this point, I know a lot of people hated him when he was at the Pats, and rightfully so, like how dominant and annoying that stretch run must have been for all you peasants out there. But the fact that he's doing this now with another team, like I feel like everybody likes to root for Tampa Bay, Tom, at this point. Like, how could you not? How can you at least want to see this guy continue to do it as long as he can? Like, it's beautiful. It's just a master just at his craft doing greatness. Like, who doesn't like greatness at this point? You don't like greatness if you don't want Tom Brady to succeed at this point. That's my opinion.
All right. Tunes, biggest threat to MVP in my eyes is Stafford. I don't agree with you if you're talking about fantasy MVP. I think he's great. He was a bargain. I got him for $1 in my auction draft too. I feel great about that pick. I don't see a quarterback becoming fantasy MVP this year. I mean, I just don't. So I don't agree with that, although I love Stafford.
I think real life, though, him, Herbert,
real life.
If that's what you're going for, Tunes, then yes, I could see Stafford in this McVay offense. He's crushing it. So, yeah, I see what you're saying.
Mike Snyder, love Eckler. I drafted him round 15 in my dynasty league, and I'll never trade him. Nor should you, Mike.
No, that's incredible. Yeah, he's a lineup lock forever for you.
I mean, I remember when Eckler came into the league, we kind of mocked him a little bit.
Right.
Denny Jennings, draft day value for me is Hurts. I got him for $1. Yeah.
That's pretty good. That's pretty damn solid auction bucks right there. Absolutely.
Can I get you want to do a trade, Wolf?
Sure.
Can I get an opinion on this trade? I traded Russell Williams and Devontae Adams for Jalen Hurts, Stephon Diggs, and Devontae Smith. I'm assuming you're talking PPR.
Especially if you needed the QB. Like, I see this because I believe in Diggs rebounding big. Russell Wilson's going to be gone for the next month or so at minimum. So I like this deal for you. You stack up Jalen Hurts and Devonta. I think Diggs is a rebound, not quite to Adams' level, but I think he'll be within a few points a week of Adams. So I liked what this is probably going to do for your team, considering it depends who you had behind Wilson and your depth at receiver. But if you're starting Smith especially, I think this is a good deal for you.
In a vacuum, I think you won the trade.
Yeah.
Ward Willis, is Chase Claypool a wide receiver 1?
No.
I don't think so. I don't think so.
I do think Juju's injury is going to help his value a lot. I mean, we saw his targets really steady out. He led the team in target share this past week. If he gets the work, he's always going to eat. And Big Ben did show a little more zip on those passes this last week. So I feel a lot better about him this week than I did last week. But wide receiver 1, top 12, no, not that much, Ward. But yeah, definitely feeling better this week.
Toon says, I hope Patterson stays hot. I feel like he may cool off.
I don't think he's gonna.
I like his floor, Tunes.
He's at 14. Like, and everybody's going to celebrate when he has a bust because all Twitter wants to do is hate him. But like every good player has had Devontae Adams had an 8-point day at some point this year. Like that happens, and everyone's going to get hoping for it to happen to Patterson. And it's inevitable. One of these days he's gone. But I think he'll get right back on the saddle. I love him this year.
It happened to Mike Williams last week.
Yeah, exactly.
He scored
Let's not
like 40
more
this
that
week.
these studs do bust every now and again. But I think season long, he's not just going to disappear at any point. He's going to be good.
All right. Was this a decent trade? I gave D-Hop and I got Lamb and Devontae Smith. So my wide receivers are now Allen, Lamb, Smith, and Robinson.
Especially because you had Allen Robinson. You pretty much needed someone. I think D-Hop and Lamb is like in a vacuum, not all that far off. So Devonta Smith, I these back-to-back trades, I really like Devonta Smith. I could see him going nuts down the stretch. So I'm into these trades with Devonta. I am. I think that guy's a player. So I like this one for you. I do.
All right. BK says Wolf.
What up, BK?
Omar says Wolf also. Better pick up for RBs and waivers.
Give the truth some love. Come on.
No, it's okay. It's okay. Better pick up for RBs on waivers between Khalil, Herbert, Daryl Williams, and Booker. Need some running back depth as always with Barkley going down. Hey, by the way, I don't want to say I told everybody so on Barkley, but I told everybody so on Barkley. Anyway, go ahead.
So if you have Barkley, I mean, Booker's almost the natural fill in there. If I am a vacuum and it's not whether I have Barkley or not, Daryl Williams, I mean, Clyde's injury is supposed to last longer, better offense. Williams not quite anything special, but good bet for a weekly touchdown if he's the lead back in the Chiefs offense. And he might sneaky have more value by himself right now than Clyde had with both of them together because it was a little bit of a timeshare. Daryl, there's really nobody. There's a little bit of Jerick McKinnon action, I guess, but I like Daryl Williams the most here.
I'm so glad Jerick McKinnon worked his way into this podcast.
Yeah, he had to somehow, right? I go Daryl Williams there if I have the choice of all three. But because you have Barkley, like Booker does make the most on paper sense. I just like Daryl Williams a little bit more.
We did that one already.
Oh, yeah, we did.
Evan Buss, let's go.
Buss, what up, brother? Great
Ward
to see
Willis
you.
says Jalen Hurts is so underrated.
Really is.
Yeah, I mean,
having a crap game this week again, and I think he ended up with 20 plus again. Doesn't look good often during the games, then bam, still legit.
Right, and Ward also says Trey Lance, no way. As far as I said, I didn't think Lance could win a league. He says too many rookie QBs have been bust this year. Yeah. My logic was a little different, but I don't disagree with you, Ward.
Yeah, I get it. It's been a tough year for those rookie QBs, and QBs just as it's hard to be a league winner at QB, no matter where you are.
Yeah, that's more where I'm coming from. And Savvy says trade AJ Brown and Gaskin for James Robinson PPR.
Yeah, I mean, I think
yes.
Yeah, because Gaskin, like this one game, I don't expect that to continue to be steady and dependable for you. So I do that. And Savvy, yeah.
I can't believe I'm advocating that, but I think I would do it. And Savvy says, I have 3 of those waiver wire players of the year that we had up. I'm 1-4 after tonight. Highest points against by a big margin. Man, that's the worst when your team's really good and you just hit a team that's better every week. I've lost 2 games this year where I was the second highest scoring team in the league. I hate it. Sorry about that, but you got to believe in what you're doing. You keep doing it. The odds are in your favor.
Yeah, that if you have those 3 top waiver wire guys, like you're probably in good shape to continue to build a good foundation and get there. We got some trash talk back to them here.
You're 1-4. That's why you got all those waiver pickups. Yeah, but you shouldn't. I don't believe, by the way, in being in a league where that's how waiver pickups are decided.
No.
So I hope that's not why he has them all.
Right.
Denny Jennings, Brady is going to cool off. I just lost the post.
Yeah, Brody's going to come back down to earth this week. He's facing the Eagles on Thursday
night.
Night
Trash
Football.
To the Wolf now.
Yeah, I think it's because he's facing the Eagles on Thursday Night Football. I'm
sure.
I
actually like my Bucks this week, Denny.
Yeah.
Mike Clay, Shanahan said today he's hoping for a late November return for Jeff Wilson. Does that change your outlook? Have him in one league, but I could use the roster space.
Oh, is that? I didn't see that. I'll have to look at that article because that does definitely change things for sure, Mike Clay. You're waiting another 4 weeks than what I was expecting. So I need to look at that. That's going to change my roster. I wish I hadn't cut Rashad Bateman today.
Denny Jennings, positional number 1s, Allen, Henry, Adams, Kelsey. That's what the Wolf like. Those are his 4.
You picked my 4. We're in lockstep, Denny, and you're a smart man, so I like
and
that.
Savvy. I had Adams, AB, and Madison all go off for me too. Not enough. Russell Wilson and Hawkinson killed me. Oh well, I have a buddy who is just livid about Russell Wilson. I mean,
yeah,
just
that's
so angry.
That was brutal.
Denny likes the Rams 31, Chargers 41. That would be a great game.
I like the Chargers as like a sneaky team to get in there. I like that call, Denny.
Slim 74, 26 from Hollywood.
Ooh, he can get there. I mean, I give you about 15% chance like 15, I did the other guy.
Like the 15% chances.
You know, 2 touchdowns are not out of the realm of possibility here.
I need Murray and Andrews not to get 8 points together. Charlie, I mean, look, it's not impossible, but you maybe also have a 15% chance of winning.
Yeah, that's going to be tough. That's under 15%. They're going to get 8. I'm sorry, Charlie, but
Denny Jennings says, anyone heard anything about A-Rob getting traded to the Eagles? I have not.
That would be, I mean, that's the one way he can salvage his value is getting traded somewhere else. That would be sweet. I would love to see that. But I mean, he's got to be trying to talk his way out of there. He has to be.
Yeah. And Denny also then said hedge trimmer 1, truth 0.
Yeah.
The last pin. I mean, what about all the times I used the hedge trimmer and it didn't cut my hand?
One
I get wins?
Enough. Once it wins, it's always the winner. It has defeated you.
Slim 74 said actually he needs under 26 from Hollywood.
I think you're probably in good shape.
I think you should be all right.
85% chance of winning, in my opinion.
Omar, I need 23 combined points from Jay Taylor and Latavius Murray. Full PPR. What are my chances? I need this win bad.
I'd give you a good
40%.
Yeah, because I like Lat to get 10. So then you're asking for 12 to 13 from Taylor. He should. He's your first rounder, right? He should. That doesn't mean he's going to this year. I think you're good. I think you're gonna get it, but I would set it at about 45%. I just think that those guys are gonna get it done for you. BK's done with Waddle. No blame there. I guess the only consolation there is Brandon Cooks didn't do anything either. So it wasn't like you had one or the other that was gonna blow up. So you ultimately didn't do that bad.
Should I trade Davis and Robinson for Thomas and Sutton?
Yes.
Yeah, I definitely would, Emiliano. I really would.
What psychopath would give you Thomas and Sutton for Davis and Allen Robinson? I don't know, but yes, 1,000,000% yes.
Slim 74, Debo value has been sweet. Yes, it has.
I'm sure has. One of the best
DK,
values in the league.
Brady can go kiss his dad on the lips.
Little tongue in there too. You know, they're pretty weird the way they get involved.
Toon said he met Stafford in real life. We do like that pick, Toons. Slims, Claypool going to boom now that Juju is out. Yeah, maybe.
I do think it's certainly going to help him out, but I don't think he's going to be steady enough. I don't trust Big Ben. Even though he looked better this week, I don't trust Big Ben to steadily get him value.
Then he says Sox 3-0.
Are they up by 3 right now? I don't have the game on.
Either that or he's jerking us around.
I hope they're up. Don't be jerking us around now.
Toon says, I'm thinking about cutting A-Rob and picking up Gainwell. Am I crazy?
Not really. I mean, I've thought about cutting A-Rob. I'm holding out hope he gets traded. So I'm not going to cut him yet, or like somebody will bite at the name value, I think, but man, like it's not crazy. I wouldn't do it, but it's not crazy.
Denny says, thanks for the kind words. I feel bad for the hedge trimmer comment. Truth. Don't feel bad, Denny. I put my business out here on YouTube, like, so people can have a little fun with it. So no hard feelings. I promise.
No hard feelings. Drive it in more. Salt that hedge trimmer wound, Denny. Don't you apologize. We don't want apologies on here. We want you to bury him more.
Toon says, I'd rather start my unborn child than McKinnon. Your unborn child's got some upside, Toons.
Yeah, definitely some PPR, and especially in PPR formats. I'm a big fan of unborn Toons for sure.
Sutton, J. Ray says, Sutton or Pittman PPR rest of the season. Who would you rather have?
Sutton.
I'd rather have Sutton.
Yeah, I like Sutton, what he's been doing. He's an alpha, and I think Judy coming back, it could eat in a little bit, but I'm into Sutton for sure.
Mike Clay, I feel your pain. I put up 173 in my one league, and I'm taking the L.
Oh, that's awful. That just sucks. Nothing.
Ward says, should kickers be outlawed in leagues? I don't know about outlawed.
I like kickers.
But, I can understand anti-kicker bias, but sometimes, sometimes a game can turn on a kicker, and it's pretty exciting.
Yeah, I like the element of kickers. I get why, and a lot of smart people want to ban them. I like it. You're not going to get that from me. I am absolutely into the element that kickers bring.
Who's your? We had some good times with Joey Sly back in the day.
Oh, I love Joey Sly. This weekend I got Young Hui Koo fired up on London game. Nice 11 points. He had 10 in the first half. I thought he was going to whip it out everywhere. But
can we just real quick before we finish these, can we just talk about, since we're on kickers now, can we just talk about Mason Crosby for a second?
Dude, truth, we both shit on him many a times. Like he's ruined our.
Oh my God. I've never seen.
What a loser.
I mean, wow.
And they somehow pulled. I hate that they pulled off the game.
They pulled it off, and he was the hero.
Yeah, he deserved none of that hero. Oh, I wish they lost so bad because I hate Mason Crosby. I think he's the world's biggest loser, and he showed why. He didn't deserve to hit that. What an asshole.
Mason Crosby should probably be outlawed in leagues. Drop Mike Davis.
You can. I mean, he had a nice 11 points this week. So running backs are so thin. Like,
yeah, man.
That's kind of like James Conner for me. I just dropped him out of hate. And look at what he's done since. I wish I had him, and I hate to admit.
If you think you can get someone who can give you comparable production, then sure. But you got to make sure there's something out there you actually want before you drop him. In my opinion.
Exactly. Oh, we got Red Sox 5-0 now. I got to go watch that game. So we're
going to wrap this shit White Sox talk, please.
No, I don't know a thing about White Sox. Don't care about them. No.
All right, here we go. Keep going. Jay Myers or Rondell Moore PPR rest of the season. Who'd you rather have?
I like Myers, higher target share. Rondale's so exciting as a player, but it's going to be so boom or bust every week.
Bump to run. Is it safe to drop Lance?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. I mean, it depends on your needs and who you have ahead of him. He didn't show enough to be like, as I said, I do think the upside is insane still. The Konami upside, if his weapons don't drop those balls, he gets one in. He's the QB 11. Everything went wrong, and he still had an okay game. So I don't want to drop him, but you got someone out there that you want. You got no one else on your bench. I'll go for it. Yeah.
All right. One more thing. A big FU to Gaskin. Middle finger. I'm with you. Slim, I'm grabbing McKinnon on a team. He's cheap with 4.2 speed. He has seduced men greater than us before. Be careful.
Be very careful. I mean, it depends on how long Hilaire's going to be out. I do think a pass catcher alongside Mahomes, no matter where it's coming from, is valuable. So he's worth a pickup, but yeah, I'm not going to be playing him anytime soon. Let's just see what he does. Yeah, sure.
Pitts, boomer bust the rest of the season.
Probably booming and busting, both of them.
I'd say you're going to get some booms and some busts.
I do think this coming out party was nice, though. Like, it showed what he truly can do. And Arthur Smith's a smart guy. Like, when you see something work with him, he rides it. Cordell Patterson. That's why I still have faith in Cordell Patterson. I do like Arthur Smith in that sense. A lot of dumb plays, too. But ultimately, he's going to ride out Pitts, in my opinion.
Enjoy the game, everyone. Like the video, Tune says. Thank you.
Yes, absolutely.
BK says, Wolf, what a Packers hater. This is personal. It's not the Packers. It's Mason Crosby specifically.
I mean, I've dumped on Aaron Rodgers on here quite a few times too. But BK, you can tell me this one. This is why Mason Crosby specifically. I don't really hate the Packers that much. In fact, I love cheese curds. I think fried cheese curds are the best. Like Bloody Marys out in Milwaukee, amazing. So I don't have anything against Milwaukee necessarily and the Packers. I think Rodgers is kind of a loser. He blames all his teammates, blah, blah, blah. Mason Crosby, though, I have a legitimate reason that you'll actually respect BK. It was the day I did a live show at Fibbers, and we had a huge crowd. I lost my fantasy game by 2 points. Mason Crosby, this was the Sunday, he missed 5 field goals.
Oh, yeah.
Should he have just not played? If I had just played no kicker, I would have won because I got negative points.
If he had been poisoned before the game, you would have
won. I would have won. But I got multiple. I think I got -4 from the guy because of all his missed field goals. He didn't make a single one. And that that was like one of the ones that my team was like 4-1. And just kind of the rest of the locker room, I lost him. Mason Crosby lost the fantasy locker room. He was a team cancer. I cut him for sure, but it wasn't early enough. So I'll never like him.
Slim, I don't think we're getting the full 4-1 on Tony's injury. Jet a bench and watch, right?
Yeah, I think put him on the bench, see what happens, because we don't know what's going on there, but they got x-rays, so it has to be something.
Mitch says, what's up, guys? Truth, you've been wanking too much? Mitch, if you had tuned in at the beginning of the show, you would know the answer to that. If you're going to roll in your chariot at 8:17 p.m. and ask if this is from wanking, like, what do you want? It's a hedge. I mean, don't you know a hedge trimmer injury when you see one, Mitch?
Weird toy to use in the bedroom, Nat. The hedge trimmer. what are we doing here? No,
just so you know, this happened outdoors.
Yes, no, that's even weirder.
A lot of blood in the front yard.
Front yard, yeah. A lot of blood and other fluids.
My kids were kind of freaked out. They saw it. Mike Schneider, enjoy your games. Going to go watch Pittman and Murray put up 31 and lose my game because that's my fantasy life. No, you got to get out of that headspace, Mike.
You need 32. Let's go, Schneider. You need the Hail Mary. You're a good man. You deserve it.
Bump to run. I think Mitchell's the back to own in San Francisco this season. Shanny said Wilson is coming end of November now. Interesting.
Yeah, that end of November comment I missed, and that's changed a lot, sadly. That sucks. And Mitchell did see 81% of the rushing share this last week. Like, it's him over Sermon, no doubt about it. So yeah, especially if Wilson's going to be that late, then I'm in. I'm in on Mitchell there.
Slim 74. Do you think Arnold with CMC is a good replacement for Wilson week 5? Decent schedule.
Arnold, who's what?
So, does he mean Darnold? Do you think? Must mean Darnold.
I don't know what's happening there. I'm sorry. Yeah, Darnold over Wilson.
Yeah.
That should be solid. Yes.
Toon says, "Truth, do you need me to record you a tutorial on how to use the trimmers? We good now?" Listen, Toons, I would never turn down a tutorial video if you wanted to send me one. But I just want to be clear: my success rate with these things is like 98%. Like most of the times, I don't cut myself.
It's like the offensive line, though. We don't notice you until you fail, and
right.
we notice
until the quarterback gets clocked from behind. Right.
Right. Exactly. Last one.
Mitch closed. I had to take my son to urgent care. He'll be okay though. It's Mitch. I hope your kid is okay. Yeah, indeed. I assume if you're not there at the beginning of the show, you got a good excuse.
Yeah, Mitch never misses it unless he's got a good reason. So that's obviously a good reason. And prayers up, Mitch. We hope everything will be okay there. Sorry to hear that. Last comment, Mr. Omar, another legend.
Good stuff as always, guys. Game has started. Wish me luck. I need an early TD from both running backs to ice this thing. Heal up, Truth. See you later, Wolf. Awesome,
buddy. Good luck. Get those touchdowns. Get your wins, guys. That Tim of finally getting alone time in the buzzer. Yeah, exactly. Awesome, guys. Well, thank you again so much. I hope you enjoyed those Q1 awards. We certainly enjoyed giving them to you. I'll be back next Monday with the usual risers, fallers, all that good stuff. I will be updating the big board live during the game tonight. So that will be updated on the rankings, the rest of the season rankings tonight on the website, RoastRedJournal.com. We breed and feed you fantasy wolves. And, of course, you can listen to this in audio at the Fantasy Fullback Dive. We pave your path to 2021 titles. Thanks so much for being here. I'm the Wolf.
I'm the Truth.
And a world full of fantasy sheep, guys. Be that wolf. Later.
Later.
All righty.